Hello and welcome back to Charge Attack.
Hello, everyone. It is me, your boy, Raider Slater, with
It's
yet
your boy.
another Charge Attack video. I am now the host. Yes, me.
I knew that
No one
was
else.
coming. I
I
knew.
actually took over the podcast, so no, I'm kidding, of course. Sorry, resume.
No, go for it. You've got the notes. If you think you can do it.
Well, today we have some news, trailers, and a big bit on Pokemon, because that is what we are doing, like it or no. Right, on to the first topic of the news. We have decided to talk about Amazon Game Studios. Shepard, would you like to continue?
Yes, they are set
Actually,
to.
what they're doing is they are. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, I've been completely just scrubbed out of this now.
No, no, go ahead.
So they're set to create Lord of the Rings MMORPG with Team of WoW, Destiny, and EverQuest veterans. So obviously, all these games, aside from Destiny, are massive MMOs. So hopefully, we should see something good come out of it. I would definitely not consider Destiny an MMO. I don't know about you,
It's
Ryan.
an MMO Lite. Attempted. It,
Yeah,
it
there might
was
be a
never.
lot of
It's
people
never a full
online.
MMO like WoW, obviously, as we can personally attest.
Definitely, you
So
saw the odd person from time to time, but I wouldn't say it was mass multiplayer
no,
online.
not
That
the.
aspect.
But still, it's good they've got it. They've all got the same vein of trying to grind, doing raids, all that kind of end game content. We've already seen a Lord of the Rings MMO. Admittedly, is many years old at this point. So it'd be good to have a modern one with up to date, with modern graphics and the fact they've got a team of veteran players in. That speaks volumes about them actually trying to do it right.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
if you're gonna do something, get the experts in that have already done it before.
exactly.
It's the same,
Like
like your
they're
first
literally
step.
getting their target audience in and telling them what they want. And considering these games are all about the grind, then veterans of those games are likely to know about all the grinds and raids, etc. So
Exactly. What's
yeah,
a
it
fair
should be
grind? What
interesting.
makes grinding fun to do? Because no one really enjoys doing it, but if you can at least make it a
There's
bit
still
enjoyable,
something to it that pulls you back every time. Just that
exactly,
one drop, and when you get it, it's just that sense of relief that
that little
they
hurt.
just nail it enough with the. Because from what I understand, I haven't played WoW, I haven't played EverQuest, did play Destiny, I played a few MMOs, Terror, etc. But it is a good balance of, good rates of dropping equipment to people not wanting to get bored. Like
Yeah,
how, like that's what they're going to get the balancing right with on this. So hopefully they get it. I don't know if it could ever be spot on. Obviously, it depends per person. But if they can do like maybe a multitude of events to drop gear with higher chances, some lower but better, more for it. Sounds good.
definitely so. I said nobody wants to be grinding for like these really hard, like tough enemies that have like a 1% chance of dropping the item that you need. And you need like 10 of those to then go to make the other item that you need, then cash it in with this other person. Well, that has been sort of the standard with those RPG games. It's not what people are going to be doing with
It's
their
more the
time going
casual, to be
forward.
honest. If they can find a good balance for the casual and the hardcore, then yeah. Because I don't mind having to grind out parts, say, for a gear.
Hmm.
But I think it's a alright kind of thing to have, like a huge end game goal. Like you get to the end game, it's not like, oh cool, I got the sword drop. End game over. It's like, right, at the end game, I got the pommel. Great. Now I just need the blade. Damn, I got another pommel. It keeps you coming back. Like I can
Yeah,
understand that being a fun part of it.
in that mechanic, it would definitely work. But when you got to like go get this item to trade it in for this other item to then exchange it for that, so then you can get this. You just like, get so sort of drawn
Yeah.
back from it. It's just then drowning in fetch quests
Yeah, there
and
is a point of like having to, oh, I got the pommel, now I need to find the perfect jewel with the perfect hand wrap with the metal to make it. It's like, we don't need that much detail.
yeah,
But I'm sure
exactly.
someone out there does, and if they can find a mix for that, that'd be great. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
they've
might
certainly
have
got
it.
a mix of
So
veterans to give advice on it.
they might say if you want
Don't know if they
a quick build, so say like you get these three set parts for a sword, it can be any certain part, but it might just not be a better quality. It might not last as long. It doesn't do as much. But then the people who want say a better version, obviously then have to then farm the better items to make the better version. So then
see.
that caters for both. both parties effectively. People who don't really care too much, oh, this sword will do,
I'll
and the
say
ones
a
that,
Destiny audience is probably the more casual in terms of gameplay. So,
mm,
and obviously, WoW, I would say you have a lot more of a hardcore audience. So that showing they've got those two lots of veterans there, so they are aiming for, I guess, the everyone kind of demographic in terms of this type of game. That with Lord of the Rings to make it fun for a fan that say loves the books, films, etc., but doesn't really play games. If they can make it on that edge so they could enjoy it as well, even better.
exactly. I said a lot of obviously Lord of the Rings fans out there. They obviously I don't remember the last time like a full sort of Lord of the Rings game came out. I mean, we had obviously like Shadow of War and all that, but
Probably the
that's
Lego games. It was the last
yeah,
full game I can
exactly.
remember.
And obviously,
I mean, in
you've got to
terms
be
of
a Lego fan to play
no, I
those.
say that. Sorry, apologies. The it depends on what Lord of the Rings they're basing it on, because it could be the Shadow of War kind
Yeah,
of. That would be the last major game. So if it's just set in the universe, then yeah, that would make sense. When I think Lord of the Rings, I just think of the films. I completely forget about the expanded universe in terms of I forget their names, but the guys from Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor.
yeah. I so when I think of said Lord of the Rings, I'm in the same boat with the films, things like that. So I think a lot of people are of that same opinion. So I think the people who like obviously the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games, obviously they like sort of the expanded universe and just sort of going back to like the Lord of the Rings world for stuff. So I think to get to the heart of that the real fans, they need to stick then with the main series, have the main characters in, and all that, that were in the films, so that they're sort of recaptured and brought back in. Otherwise, I think a lot of fans will be a bit more disinterested than they
A lot
should
of gamers
be.
would be happier because they don't have to have behind material to know about the story. But
True.
man, if they could balance it and mix it up, who knows? Time will tell. Either way, I'm looking forward to it because a good MMO with a franchise I'm familiar with, awful.
Definitely, definitely.
Definitely
Well,
playing it now.
when we get some
Oh no, wait,
demos,
Urukai is available. I want Urukai.
you want who?
An Urukai.
You want the orcs?
Why not?
I mean,
Look,
why not?
if they're going to follow the WoW kind of thing, they have Horde and the Alliance. They could have the armies of Sauron and I don't know what you'd call like the good guys,
The
like the
armies
Riders of
of
Rohan or the
men, the elves,
yeah, the good,
the
good, the good
yeah.
race.
Yeah, I mean they could do where sort of challenge up, and they could then do some like in-game sort of like competition battles between sort of rivaling nations or races and things, and then
Exactly
see.
again
Yeah,
with the World of Warcraft kind of thing.
exactly. So
Do
there's a
that.
lot they can do with their sort of like their game set from the Lord of the Rings. So hopefully they take advantage of that and make something awesome. So moving on
On to game
from
studios.
what
On to gaming studios
gaming
and the founders
studios,
of them.
yes. So Sean Murray's had a few bits to say in terms of from the founder of Hello Games had a few bits to say regards to a view on Fallout 76 and Anthem's silence since they've been released. Obviously, this gentleman obviously knows obviously about the No Man's Sky and obviously how when that came out, a lot of people found it to be a bit of a flop. I heard it described as a game as vast as the ocean, but not deep enough to drown in, which is not the best
That's
way
an
to
apt
describe a
description,
game.
yes.
Yeah, it's apt, but not the best way to describe a
No.
game. He's given a few views on potentially also why the developers of said 76, Bethesda, and EA for Anthem are keeping silent in regards to their sort of recent game releases. And potentially just the bones of it is that obviously whatever they say now potentially could be used against them or potentially damage their sort of reputation and things further. So
Essentially, they don't want to be making false promises
mm,
and having fans come back and say, "Well, you didn't do this."
yeah,
So I don't
exactly.
know. I say I don't know. I say they've only just gone into silence. I know 76 certainly came out and was a bit all over the place, and they tried
Mm,
to communicate some stuff, but not others. Like so, me. And again, obviously, because he knows about No Man's Sky, they went silent for 2 years. I'll say Bethesda did put out some. They weren't completely silent, but they could have given us a bit more. I'll say
Yeah,
that. As for BioWare's, theirs makes much more sense in terms of we were promised within the first month or so a Cataclysm event. I believe that's what it was called, and we've still got no sign of it ever happening.
yeah, that is like
So,
just a legit false promise. Like they just not
and
done it.
fair, I don't believe they've really promised much more after that. They've still been working to fix the game, which, don't get me wrong, is good on their half. They shouldn't have released it broken, but if they're trying to make amends, they get a few points for trying.
Yeah,
I think it's an outright "you're forgiven, all praise be to you." That's certainly not how it is, and they should know that. And I think EA certainly know that. At
mm,
least now they do.
no, definitely.
And
They've got a lot of work to do to sort of regain the trust and faith of their community after that.
definitely,
But it's good to see that they are making the efforts. They did mention obviously a few bits at Bethesda said a few bits at E3 about obviously 76. So they're not obviously completely in the dark in what they've done wrong. They do know what
yeah.
they've done and what they need to fix it. So, and they were very forward about that, which is good. They know they screwed the pooch on this one. So, um, yeah, it's interesting to see obviously more stuff coming out about it and sort of what they do further with the game. I know there's a few patches for 76 coming out soon, and things like to make it a few fixes and makes it a few bits easier. I heard about for sort of new and starting players. So they are obviously improving and thinking about sort of longevity of the game and getting new people into the game. So which is good, not just focusing on sort of end game content for people who are already playing and things like that. So they are thinking forward as well as sort of currently as well. I think with this game, which they need to be,
Mm.
because from what's been said so far, people who haven't played 76 yet would I think a lot of people would be discouraged from what they've read or heard so far. So um,
Certainly, it was a rough launch. Having played it since launch, I stopped going as what's the word, hardcore into it, I guess, a few months ago.
mm.
So you can tell already that didn't quite keep me in as long as I was hoping for. But
Oh yeah, you and Bethesda games, you can last for years on end.
exactly, I'm
So
still playing Skyrim, so
exactly, you played
but that was
Oblivion for
mostly for the
like
modding.
best part of a decade.
That keeps the game going, but obviously it being a separate division of Bethesda,
Mm.
it was their first major thing. So I don't know, it's still not a thing to forgive, but they are adding new stuff in. Unfortunately, they recently added a battle royale mode.
Yeah,
But
that does seem like the worst kind of plaster to a problem that doesn't exist. So,
yeah,
but someone is
but
going to
it's something
appreciate
new.
it.
Adds content, I believe, on there, and they think they fixed it all. But they were quiet at several intervals on it, and we were like, "Well, what's happening? You just keep saying fixes. When's this content you keep promising?" But when they
Yeah,
eventually did talk about they did talk about it properly. But there was silence where we were kind of like, "Come on!" But it does make sense that they would, not say, "Hey, we're going to bring this out next week," and go, "Oh, we can't," because that imagine we're already mad about the game. We don't need you lying to us again.
yeah, and
So
with gaming communities, they remember everything,
definitely,
everything. So they people have got to be careful what they say when they're sort of releasing games and content things like that, because people will be like, "Well, where was this? You said we were going to get that," and all that sort of stuff. So it makes complete sense. I understand why they're doing it until they have stuff to put out to then show. So that it just avoids that whole sort of conversation scenario.
also relating back to the fact of uh, Sean Murray speaking out, it's kind of I'd say it's partially respectable of him to actually come out and say to to people why their companies wouldn't say anything
Mm.
to try and give his because he didn't really have to give his he has no stand in either companies I believe,
No,
so
no,
he
just like a
kind of
journalist
gives
for
some kind
gaming.
of
So
idea out to the gamers, the community, us looking up to them, give us some kind of context as to why they're being silent
mm.
instead of just
It makes sense.
expecting, instead of just leaving us to think, oh, they hate the community. It's no, they love us, but they want, they realize their mess up, and they can't say anything with nothing to back it up
Mm.
because obviously he's been through that, so he's sharing the experience. So he's got
Definitely.
a bit of respect there.
Yeah, he said, as he said, didn't have to. He's got no no ties to any of these companies. So he obviously has an interest in the topic and feels that he can maybe shed a bit of light, help give a bit of context to the situation for people, so that those who feel like they've not been informed of anything can maybe understand a little bit more potentially as to why, so they don't feel that this game has just been sort of just dropped. So. Yeah, I think it might restore a bit of faith to see that other people are a bit more understanding with it going forward. So yeah, that was interesting to see. Going forward now, the next bits we've got big news from Nintendo and the Switch Lite.
Fine, your reveal.
It's well, after so many leaks and everything, they've finally given us the full sort of this is it, it's happening sort of thing for the device. So as we have seen with Nintendo DS and Nintendo, we've got the DS Lite. We have now the Nintendo Switch Lite. So bit of a predictable name. I think they could have done something a bit more with it, but it's it makes sense. It's the lighter version.
I guess
It's
the point.
a little bit less. So yeah, I think people it follows Nintendo's trend, so
It was
that
better
makes
than the Game
sense.
Boy Micro. We'll say that.
Yeah, exactly. They could have done something else with it completely entirely. But yeah, they've not released much in terms of specs and everything like that for terms of the console. It's pretty much going to run for the most part the same, obviously aside from a few major points from it being a downgrade console and
Everyone
only
saying
handheld only.
major points. I say that's not quite different.
Well, aside from the major bits that make it a different console sort of things, they're
Yeah,
going to be
it's
working at the transfer of the content of certain games that can be played on it. There is a few that potentially will not work on the Lite, so that obviously is quite a major drawback for potentially some people.
obviously what we're
If
talking about there is they won't play because they wouldn't. Some games require to be connected to the TV to use the full power of the Switch.
mm,
So it can only display, whereas the Switch Lite, sorry, is only handheld. It cannot connect to a television at all. No plug-in, no nothing, just the charger slot, and I guess headphones.
yeah,
So with that lacking feature, apparently one or two games can't be played. It's not a huge list. I haven't seen anything, at least on Nintendo's major, what's the word? I was going to say self-published games. That's not the word.
first
Exclusive.
party.
First party, that's the word. There we go.
I'm good.
You are good. Uh, no first party names, which is nice to see.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be a big mistake otherwise.
there is no like Joy-Cons. They are just attached to the whole unit. They can't come off, so no more motion controls, which will affect a few of their games, I believe. Not majorly, like they're still playable, but you will miss out on a few like moves, I guess. I know Mario Odyssey had like a spin move by lifting the Joy-Cons. Can't do that with the screen attached. So
So how would Pokemon Let's Go work then? Because obviously that requires either
no,
the
on handheld it does work differently. It doesn't require the throwing motion. You can just aim the reticle and throw the ball on the screen, I believe. Well, no, with the aim
okay.
something.
Oh, so you just
I haven't
aim
played
with the
handheld, so
stick.
I can't remember.
Okay, because obviously that was a lot of games might not be sort of completely have like an integrated system where you have to move the thing or whatnot on screen, but
Yeah,
a lot of games have certain aspects that do take it into consideration. So some games obviously process have to change. Obviously, Let's Go as one. You can sort of shift the thing around like almost like AR really. You can sort of scan the room
yeah,
and it sort of moves as you move around the area, around the layout on the screen. So obviously with that no longer in place, you might just have to say just flick the switch or the trigger, and it'll then shift you over and you aim that way instead. Which essentially isn't the worst thing in the world. At least it doesn't take away a whole mechanic of
yeah.
the game for aiming. You don't have to sort of like go to the whole Pokemon
You're
Go
opening the
aspect of
game up,
flicking it
like
with your finger. Exactly.
so. And but obviously the strange point is the Switch. It was meant to be the you switch between on the go or at home. It shows they really doubled down on the handheld and how everyone, I guess, they're just meeting demands of people wanting a games console, but in your hand, not just a. Not to say the DS isn't a console, but it's not quite,
Has it got console capacity for
exactly.
graphics and the types of games? So
It shows
yeah,
people really want that stuff on the go, which is nice to. It's nice to see that they're pushing a technology that hasn't really been pushed before. But I
definitely.
know everyone else seems to be combating it, I guess, with Stadia or with XCloud. Is what the other companies
Yeah.
are trying to do. They're trying to push that, like use the device you already have, whereas Nintendo just went, well, let's just make a new device.
So, and again, obviously, with all that, that's all streaming-based services, which can eliminate a lot
Eliminate
of potential eliminate a lot of potential players because they've not got
for
the
Switch. You
facilities
just
to
you
play.
buy the game, buy the console. Obviously, the other way around in order. Plug it in, done. You just play it.
Exactly.
I believe the battery size is a tad better as well for most
I was
games.
going to
It's
say
good
about the
7
battery. I mean,
hours.
the Switch,
They said.
I mean, the battery is perfectly fine for how much I play sort of out and about anyway at any point or sort of away
I
from a
believe the normal
charging
Switch
point.
can go up to
So,
4 or 5 hours with most games. Three
hmm.
games for heavier stuff like Breath of the Wild. Um,
Yeah,
they didn't comment exactly on heavier games for these Lite. They just said 7 hours, I believe, as a general. That seems like a better battery.
I'd definitely say so.
Uh,
I was going to say, have they sort of toned the physical capacity down for the battery to work better, or have
Obviously, the
they
Switch, the
increased
unit is
it?
smaller, so a smaller screen, so
Mm,
less. It
less
depends.
powering.
Obviously, resolution and size do make a difference, but I imagine the resolution's cut down a little bit. No, Nintendo, they generally
Mm.
don't make us like even with them when they upscale screens, they don't increase it. So I can't imagine they wouldn't. It's either the same or decreased, which makes sense. Obviously, smaller screen, you're gonna miss details anyway.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that should obviously help with them with the battery from really lasting sort of a short time, so you get like halfway through your game or
It's
whatnot.
not
Or
exactly gonna last you a huge trip, but 7 hours, that's pretty good for most casual players who play on the bus or on the train to work, etc.
exactly, so
Or
not
just
many
for an
people
hour
travel
if
for
you want
that
to.
long. There's
So
maybe
it's
the odd plane flight from time to time
even then
that
though,
lasts that
most
long.
planes plug it in as a preamp.
Exactly. I mean, planes these days,
Exactly.
having more and more facilities. So there's going to be, I don't think, few opportunities or a few situations, more I should say, that where a 7 hour battery life wouldn't be enough for a lot of people without having some point
Exactly.
of charging it in the meantime. So, and if you did, I think you've got a bit of an unrealistic expectation for what this can do for over this sort of time period. So, um, but yeah, I think it's all good. They've obviously announced three new colors with it as well. The
Technically four.
grey, technically four.
Well, they got the. You go on with the base color. Sorry, I'll go on to the other one.
Yeah, we got the grey, the yellow, and the turquoise, which I was quite interested in. So it was a nice color, for that one.
I believe technically the fourth is the Pokemon edition, which will just be.
Yes.
I believe it's mostly grey, but it has a purple left and a reddish right side. I
Mhm.
believe, if I remember the image. Uh, just because of Zacian and Zemazente, the two Pokemon from Sword and Shield. So they kind of wanted to go with that for a special edition but you have to wait for that one because it comes out at the same
Yes.
time as Sword and
I was
Shield.
going to say the Switch Lite is due to come out in September, and then the Pokemon Sword and Shield editions are due to come out in November. So potentially, a lot of people it might not actually pick up in sales until that game comes out.
Definitely.
So
But
I'm
I'd say for more children and all that, for parents wanting to buy their kids a Switch, they've got it in time for the holidays. Obviously,
mm,
Nintendo know their stuff in terms of games, and they know their audience. And you can imagine a parent wanting to give their child or the smaller version, probably a bit more durable due to its size, and
no
they're not
breakable
going to put it on
attachments.
television, get in the way of their show. They can just have the
Exactly.
Switch off in the corner,
Definitely. Yeah, without obviously the detachable
and obviously, yeah, no possible chance of losing the controllers.
exactly. It's less if it is drop. It's less likely to sort of to snap anything off that's already sort of weakened from the connection anyway. So,
It has two images of the Pokemon on the back as well as being grey. I just
ooh,
noticed with Zamazente and Zacian on the left and Zamazente on the right.
very
They're
nice.
very pretty.
I hope they bring an edition. I don't think they will. I hope they're like a full edition of these because I'd be quite interested in that.
I,
But
I can't see them doing it with them
no,
pushing out the light version. They're gonna want it to go in hard on the light version to get you to buy that instead.
yeah, they're going to sort of make that one then sort of null and void, then aren't they? Which is a
Yeah.
bit a shame because I would
Well,
have liked
I
that.
say we're going to the pricing now. It's £160,
Mm-hmm. $200 in the US.
$200, I guess, without taxes. I don't know how taxes work in America.
Yep.
Apologies. But yeah, that's roughly the same as a normal Switch nowadays, is it not?
About so yeah, I mean most of them come with like a bundle of everything these days to tie in a game and whatnot, but just the standard console, yeah, I mean it must be about that price now going forward. It's been out
Oh
for
no,
quite a
cancel
while.
that. No,
No,
they're still going for 270. My bad.
till 170. Well, I mean, it's not a massive difference really
A
between the
hundred
two
pound.
consoles.
Saying that,
Yeah.
that's you do lose a lot of tech in it, which makes sense because obviously with the Joy Cons not being Joy Cons, technically there's no motion sensor, so that's a lot of money they cut out.
Mm.
So for the price, I'd say, yeah, I take it. I take what I was going to say about that. That was actually fairly well priced, actually, for all the tech you lose out of it and more compatibility for the purpose. Yeah, okay, that makes much more sense. That's actually
If for
very.
me, in terms of the costing, I would, and just because of the capacity, I would still, if I had the choice between the two, I still would pay the bit extra and get obviously the full device myself. But at least it's a financially viable option for people who don't obviously want the full
Exactly.
capacity. So I know a lot of people might be a little bit sort of put out if they say, "Oh, I'm paying about the same much for the full device as I am for getting the smaller and lesser device." So yeah, I definitely think the pricing for this one is more in line with a handheld console, less than
Well, that is
a full
what they've
console.
turned
So
into, but that
mm,
is nice to see that there's a cheap, technically full console to a degree,
cheaper variant for people
and
going
they
forward.
kind of still own that market. I can't. I The only other handheld I can name is DS. I guess PSP Vitas are still around, but I don't believe they're being produced anymore. So Nintendo
There's
have the market at this point. Though I guess obviously mobile games are still a thing, but in terms of dedicated gaming, Nintendo hold the market and probably will continue to do so as they have done.
for official hardware and things like that. Yes, they definitely,
And
and
with
I
the
think
amount
they
of
have.
choice they will eventually offer, I can imagine them offering a better Switch for on the go or a TV dedicated one at this point.
I
Like
reckon
one
say give
without
it a
three.
month. Give it a month, and we'll see Switch charge packs and things like that if it isn't already a thing. And people
I'm
be
not sure how much that will work, but yeah, we would see definitely peripherals dedicated to the mobile version and maybe even a dedicated television version.
potentially one that is solely designed to run on television. So
I mean,
like a
we've seen the
the new
success
console.
of the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. Maybe, and Nintendo's always been about multiple versions, as we've seen with the DS. Maybe
Mm.
a few too many, one would say.
Yeah, I mean the Nintendo DS. My God, how anyone decided which one to get, I don't know, and I still don't know today which the latest is or what
So
which one does what.
I'd be definitely down for a stronger TV version if they're going to give a handheld version for people.
I would definitely be up for that. I a lot of time I use my Switch at home on the television, so I wouldn't miss too much the removal of it. But I would definitely keep my one that does both, just for those occasions where I do need to use it off the
Yeah,
television or
obviously
whatnot.
that would take away from the Switch naming, obviously.
Yeah,
Would
obviously, but I
agree.
don't think they call it the Nintendo Heavy, or that would doesn't
No,
make any
well,
sense.
they would name it, but no, it's strange how they have gone the handheld version, considering it's going to be a switching console. But yeah,
Mm. It makes sense. People are going to know where they
makes
stand
sense.
with it
That's
being
what
the
the world,
light.
just meet supply and demand, I guess. They're a business after all.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as they
It's
continue to push, I'm happy with it. Pushing all this not new tech, but portability.
definitely Nintendo's always been good with that, so it's good to see them still doing all the good stuff and that going forward.
Nintendo, the saviors we need.
Yeah, everyone should definitely sort of pick up from
Take a few
Nintendo
leaves
and
at that.
learn. So that's obviously is the majority of the Switch information for the moment. As and when more comes out, obviously we'll touch on it again going forwards. So let's move now on to the trailers and things we've seen for a few bits upcoming.
Allow me
'Cause there's
to
been a lot.
ruin this podcast and take over,
Yeah,
as
this is
I
your
have completed
forte,
this.
so
I apologize if you don't care for anything remotely anime. Put a timestamp and skip ahead.
get interested and listen.
Or get interested. Yes, now is your
Yes,
chance.
exactly. Take it away. What have we got? As
Uh,
some good
First
stuff.
on the list, we both played it and we both spoke about it last time. Is the Kill la Kill If game? It had a
Oh,
new trailer and a new demo recently dropped on the PS4, and I believe it is coming to the Switch within the next week or so.
the demo was incredible.
It truly was. It's so nice to see them take a current series, be it, a film, etc. In this case, a series, and they stuck to it. There was music from it, the voice actors were the same, and it just was kill la kill. It
It
wasn't
was a
some
true rendition of the anime. There was nothing there that
every
I saw that was like,
exactly. There was nothing where you're like, well, that's quite a bit out of character. Nope, it was all pretty much in character. Everything
exactly.
was law. Yeah, it was. I loved it.
The combat, obviously going into that, also is a large part of this game. And while some of the controls may be a bit complicated when you're in the middle of a fight, they were quite simple to execute, and it was a really nice sort of visual payoff as well with some of these attacks when you're landing. It was fluid, it was quick, it wasn't sort of like you didn't feel like you were sort of thrown out of place when you were using some of the moves and things like that. Everything sort of made sense in terms of in the strike placements. So it was awesome, and the range of your attacks as well, from what like your short range, your long range, and then your moving attacks to sort of cover distance. They all just worked so well together, and you could really build a nice sort of attack pattern in a nice flow. I don't know how much you played of the actual sort of fighting of it, Ryan,
I
but
played mostly the versus mode. I didn't touch on the story
versus.
because I want to wait for the full game
Hmm.
for me. So I purposely ignored that and just went to wanting to try every character to see how well they kept to them. And I played all of them. There were 4 characters available in the demo. We had Satsu Kiryuin, Ryuko Matoi, uh, Uzu Senegama, and Ira Gamagori. 2 of the Elite Four and the 2 main girls themselves.
So
And I will
I
say
played,
they played perfectly.
or as you'd expect going forward, with from what you've seen, from obviously the anime and from obviously the other characters. I played the story mode, where you play as Satsuki. There was a very long intro sort of cutscene at the beginning. It was nice to see the similar art style, but just sort of then uh, moved over into the 3D realm without losing the Kill la Kill art style at the same time, with it being like all these really weird modeled characters. It kept it a very nice balance between the two. Um, we saw a bit of the cutscene, a lot of um, sort of interaction between the characters, obviously Japanese with English subtitles for it. We saw a lot of characters from the series, saw all the Elite Four. We saw Satsuki's mum, Ryoku, Mako was in it as well. She was just shown, so we saw a lot of it. Um, it took you through like a tutorial, like a checklist, so you can sort of perform each move and sort of know as you performed it, right? It's got the normal sort of heavy light attacks, and obviously you then charge up like a special bar. How much did you look into for that? Is it like there's like an exchange bit where you sort of pick um, like some sort of an attack
Like a rock paper
or
scissors kind of.
yeah. I didn't find out much about that, but I just sort of picked the first one that I sort of noticed. How did you find that?
I didn't actually come across that because I
You
mostly played
didn't.
covers mode and I never actually managed to get it to trigger in normal fights.
Ah, I
I
see. Right,
didn't see
yeah.
that until the trailer that came out recently to show that
Ah,
off.
okay.
But I
In
will say
the
it
yeah.
seems they talk a lot, don't they? To like kind of like almost insult each other, from what I understood. Like while
In the
they're attacking.
cutscenes, there was a lot of talking. In the bit that I played, I didn't notice much talking.
I
'Cause
mean,
obviously
the specific rock paper scissors kind of fight. Was there not talking in that?
I don't remember there being. It was quite quick. 'Cause you sort of
Oh,
start each other ends, they then dash each other. You see like a it sort of the screen sort of slices, and then you sort of pick your selection, and then sort of the attack goes through, and usually end up being sort of one of them blasted away or knocked over or something. So I didn't notice any talking. I'd have to play it again to double check. But obviously it's in Japanese. I obviously have to read them the subtitles for it to find out exactly what they were saying. Um, but no, it was very, very interesting. I'm glad to see. It felt like you were playing the anime, and that's what this game needed to demonstrate.
And you didn't play all the characters. They perfectly nailed every character in terms of style. Uzu was definitely still the kind of his beginning, like more uptight kendo kind of style with the sword, or very, I guess, not rigid attacks. How would you say it? Very stiff attacks. Like he wasn't as fluid, but that makes sense for his style.
Yeah, obviously there's certain that he's
They
very sort of deliberate with his strikes. When he
exactly
does
lots of
moves, he
jabs,
moves to hit.
head
Yeah,
hits, etc. He played very well. I'll say the era Gamagori definitely got the most creative kind of move sets in that his main attack was mostly just a punch, but you powered him up as he did in the anime through his self-discipline, where he would whip himself and he'd damage himself and build up a meter that let him perform other attacks.
so it's really moving on from the realm of just sort of like button mashing and hacking and slashing at your other person
You need to
and
build up a
pulling.
meter. It
Mm,
hurts himself as he whips himself, but then it gives him access to stronger attacks. In exchange for being stronger, if he doesn't have his bar, his attacks are generally much slower, meaning he can be easily outmaneuvered. So he has a very much of a specific playstyle, but it just works and it's so accurate to his character.
definitely, he very much was. That is his character, sort of his role.
No,
His
He was all about discipline, rules,
mm,
and obviously he powers up in his Goku uniform. That's the word.
yep.
Through that in the anime, and they nailed it perfectly in the game. So I'm very looking forward to seeing every other character and how they managed to.
I want to see Jakuza Rays because I loved her in the anime. Symphony Regalia
How
one
they're
was
going to
just
bring in the
awesome.
giant ship? Who knows? They could do.
Exactly.
I don't think I've seen gameplay of it. If there is gameplay, I haven't seen it because I'm trying to not watch as much as I can.
Yeah, definitely.
Being
As
game.
much as I want to, I'm like, no, I
I
don't
know I'm meant to
like
be
seeing
reporting
this.
on it, but come on, we're fans as well.
Even just in general, even if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't want to see as much. Just enough to keep me hooked and know what I'm going to be looking forward
Exactly.
to. But I still want that on the day, like, oh yes, that's that rush of new awesomeness. So we'll keep an eye on it as it comes out. When it comes out, the 26th, we're not too far off now. So
And to speak, the Switch demo is on the 22nd in Europe. On
22nd, so just a few days before
demo.
general release.
So
Nice.
a few days to get your decision made.
Yeah, like everyone's nice and fresh in everyone's minds just before it comes out. So no one's sort of played it 3 months ago and then forgotten about this game before it suddenly comes out, which again is a decent marketing ploy with this one. So uh, good stuff for that one. I'm so happy that it came out the way it has. Just look forward to getting more into it and seeing more of this game as it goes forward, seeing all these alternative fights and stories and
Just
things.
stories. Going on from
Exactly.
that, relating to Trigger, I'm going to skip ahead in our notes quickly. Trigger have done a opening to another game recently. The actual animation studio did the opening to Shantae 5.
Okay, I've not heard of this.
Um, Shantae, very old game from the GTA era, recently made
Cool.
a big comeback with Pirate's Curse and Half Genie Hero. Both
Right.
very good games, very fun. And Trigger did a full animation opening. I believe it was 2 minutes worth of animation
Mhm.
with music by Shantae's voice actor as well. On top of that,
Okay, so
with
sticking
her
true.
singing, Christina V, I think was the name. Unless I've got that wrong, I have to check now.
Mm, quick Google, emergency Googling.
Quick Google. Don't want to get it wrong. Yep, it's Christina V.
Tina V, nice.
Yeah, it's just very nice to see. Completely unexpected that Shantae would have a anime opening by Trigger themselves. Given the wacky nature of Shantae games and Trigger being Trigger with games with anime such as Kill la Kill, it makes sense now that I've seen it, and it's very nice animation. So just a little throw in there to any Shantae fans. Go check it out. It looks beautiful.
Nice. We'll get the description that I put in the video below for everyone who wants to have a look at that one.
Right, on to the next bit.
Yes, this one came up quite recently, if I remember you saying.
A day or two ago, another trailer for bleh, messed up my words there. Well done. Another trailer for One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. It's threw me off by quite a lot. Didn't quite expect a game based on this anime, considering the major spoilers. So put like a spoiler tag on screen for like as long as I'm talking. Considering One Punch Man himself, Saitama, is literally supposedly, invincible for the purpose of the show, how they make a game based on it will be incredibly what's the word I'm looking for here? My mind's gone
Character
blank.
breaking.
It will be very interesting and kind of how on earth are they going to do this?
Yeah, they always have to break the character to physically work him into sort of game.
Yes.
Maybe they might give a bit of context. Maybe he just doesn't want to do that today. He's being fair. He just it's fine. I'll make allowance for
going
these
easy
people.
on them.
Exactly, maybe, or maybe he's a gimmick thing.
Oh yeah, the gimmick he's probably mostly a gimmick, and it's still nice to see the other characters, I guess, from it's almost seems to be mostly based on the first season of the anime. So it's nice to see all those characters getting their own fighting characters even.
Maybe he'll be like a little support character. So when you get maybe like he's like a finisher.
Finisher, yeah. That would make sense in terms of it.
Not as an actual playable character, because
yeah,
that would
make sense. No, I imagine in context of this show, he could be a playable character for a funny story.
Just he plays him.
Just play as him and just get to do everything.
It doesn't count towards the game or anything like that because it's just like easy mode extreme.
He's just a fun comedic character, which is exactly what he is.
Ticks a few boxes for everyone then, doesn't it?
Exactly. I will say it's from the same creators of Dragon Ball Z, I believe. The not the anime, but the game.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the names of them because I've never played them. But it's very similar. So it's very similar to those games, obviously, because the creators Konami. But it's also very similar in terms of Kill la Kill, which is why I brought it up. Same type of 3D roaming arena, but still locked onto a 1v1 fighting style game.
Yeah, not a side-scroller beat 'em up, as most of the sort of games like that are nowadays.
Side-scrolling,
but
3D beat 'em up. If that makes sense.
Adds that layer that a lot of people
adds a bit more maneuverability in the arena.
Yeah, definitely. I prefer this style of fighting. Well, I do like side-scroll and beat 'em ups to sort of play with friends and whatnot. It can get a little bit sort of samey and whatnot, and you lose a lot of aspect of your moves and your fights and things. So I think this is a better way to show these games off and what they've put into it.
Definitely.
So that's the news for that bit. What's the final update you got for us, Ryan? You know, you've been
the final update that I have is coming out tomorrow. Is a new Azure Lane update. Same day every day you put out new stuff on a Thursday. We have a submarine event coming up. I'd say underrated ships finally get something going on. We've got a new daily stage. Can only be done twice a week, but it still shows up in the daily area for some reason. That doesn't make much sense. But either way, it's a easier way to get submarine gear, which is a pain to grind for otherwise. So it's nice to see we're getting something like that, along with a bunch more submarines to construct and hopefully earn. I will leave it at that for the Azure Lane news.
Submarines. Everyone loves good submarines, so that's pretty good. Let's now look at the next topic. Going
Digimon.
back to Digimon, because that is super relevant right now. Everybody's crying out for Digimon. No, that is not what we're looking at. Pokemon Sword and Shield. A few more updates, information about that. They've released a bit more information regarding some new Pokemon that are coming up, which is interesting.
Characters that aren't Pokemon, like human characters. There we go.
Yes, some of the gym leads and things. So, all good information sort of going forward. Just keeping everyone sort of interested in and see what they can expect going forward. They've announced obviously the main things of this game that they're working on is the Gigantamaxing, obviously, and Dynamaxing that they've announced already. So that's obviously the massive size increase and some new moves. I think Gigantamaxing also comes to alternative forms or like
Gigantamax is more
appearances.
specific to certain Pokemon, of which we got a few revealed to go along with the announcement.
Yes,
So
so they
they're
showed.
spam as we talk about them.
Yep, we had Corviknight, was it? That had a
Corviknight, one was previously seen, has been shown to have a Gigantamax form.
mhm, very cool looking. Gets like reddish undertones and everything. Looks even
Very,
more
very
evil. So
looking.
fan of
Probably
that.
one of my favorites here.
I was always a fan of Corviknight anyway as a standard. So this has only improved my opinion of it.
Enhanced.
And there was also was it Dreadnought, something like that?
Oh,
Is that the other
Dreadnought,
one?
yes,
That
the
got one.
turtle. Yes, that got a Gigantamax, one we'd already seen, but had not seen the new Gigantamax form
Yep.
yet.
They released some new Pokemon as well that's also getting a Gigantamax form. So it was, I believe I'm proud of this, right? All creamy, alchemy,
Alcremie, I
all
believe.
cream.
I believe it's meant to be a play on the word alchemy. So Alcremie.
Right. Okay, makes sense.
Because of our
It's,
British love for strawberries and cream.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. This cute looking fairy type Pokemon looks a bit like Marshadow, sort of like sweeter looking cousin, I suppose.
That's it.
Which
Absolutely put it, yes.
which brings us on to another Pokemon that's been described as a cousin. We've got a Roly-Coly,
Roly
which
Coly,
the
I
name
believe
makes it
based on an
sound
old
really
race.
nice and like friendly and lovely, but it is not. This is a pissed off looking Pokemon.
The
Uh,
angry lump coal.
it has been
Essentially.
described as Geodude's angry cousin. It's a
You'd
black
be
rock
angry as
with an
well
orange
without any
eyeball.
arms.
Exactly. It looks like
Spoiler alert.
Geodude and a Rock and Roller have made a baby. Um, looks potentially has the potential to be a Rock and Fire type, which is quite interesting going forward. And we also had the announcement of Duraludon, we believe it's pronounced, not too
Duraludon,
sure.
I believe.
Duraludon, whatever it is. A dragon and steel
It
type.
just occurred to me why it might be called Duraludon. Wasn't there
Oh,
a
okay.
sword called Durandal, I believe?
Durandal. It
Like
sounds like
a
it could be a
famous
name.
sword known as Durandal?
I mean, it's
That's a
not
French
possible.
sword, I believe. Search it up. Yes, it was a French sword. So could be based on a sword, hence it's steel typing. Doesn't look like a sword at all.
No, it's been described as looking like a stapler,
It,
and some people,
when,
and
when its face opens, I can understand. It has a very mechanical-esque jaw, and they just open straight up, I guess.
definitely. Um, I think this looks like the pre-evolution of Dialga myself, and
It
the
does look
type
like a shrunken down Dialga.
would fit as well. So
Same
that gives
typing.
you an idea of of what it looks like there. But
Oh,
quite
you
cool
have the
looking.
picture on screen as well.
Yes, we'll have the pictures going on that one as well. And we've also got some, as we mentioned earlier, some unique gym leaders per game. I'm assuming that's also between the sword and shield, which I can't remember if that's been a thing before. Is that a thing?
It's, I believe the only time it's been a thing was when it wasn't gym leaders, but the trial Pokemon in Sun and Moon was the only time they were different. In that one would have one Pokemon as a kind of trial leader instead, which made sense considering it was a complete change to gyms
Hmm.
or lack thereof, I guess. It was a trial instead.
Do you think
So
this
for
is
them to do
enough?
it,
Mm,
sorry, as I say, for them to do it with trainers now or gym leaders in this case, it shows they're really pushing to change up, but yet keep the old mechanic, I guess, because people miss gyms, so they brought them back, but still trying to mix it up. So you still get a bit of a different experience per game.
definitely. Do you think this is enough to make people buy both versions or
Uh,
not?
it, um, just having 2 versions is already enough for me to buy both. But that's
Yep.
just me.
But for people
I
who
don't
like
on
the
a more
games,
casual scale, I don't believe so.
yeah,
I believe the main point would always be the legendary to try and get
yes,
you to buy both versions, or dependent upon the other version's exclusive Pokemon would be the main reasoning behind this.
I think it
So in
just
terms of
adds
leaders,
to
I believe
the.
it's just to differentiate the experience, so
Hmm.
everyone can have a different story. Say,
I think it just adds to people like what is already there already is enough for people to come back to play both of them. It just gives them a little bit more to
exactly, and
make it a bit
maybe
different when they do so maybe play it back sort of the second time on the second
I was going
game.
to say in terms of starters as well. Some people pick starters based on the first few gym efficiency. This
Mm.
would completely change it up in that you may have Karuki being perfect for the first 3 gyms on one game, yet terrible on the first 2 gyms for another game. So it could be forcing a kind of like try something new in terms of typing, like to force
Definitely.
people to pick outside their comfort zone to a degree, or to at
Ooh.
least change their party up, which would be, I mean, which obviously, well, with recent events has kind of split the, well, not has upset the community to say the least in terms of mass opinion.
Yeah, people are so easily pissed off these days. It's hard to make stuff that someone's not going to sort of turn their nose up
Exactly.
at. I think a lot of things obviously going forward is going to annoy a lot of people is the limited Pokédex for future games. I think a lot of people are going to be really bitter about that.
They are. And
Definitely.
given the fact that he Masuda himself recently gave a small statement on it, saying that this is how it will be for the foreseeable future, is limiting the maximum size of a Pokedex in that in this terms, the Galar Dex is just the Galar Dex. There's no chance of an extended national Dex, which is, it's both upsetting, but at the same time, I understand why.
Yeah, I mean,
At this
everyone who's
point in the
played all
life
these
cycle,
games.
we have 700 Pokemon. They're going to add in more with this game. That what they I'm betting what they're trying to do here is to try and push the end game for say tournaments and that. At this point, there's so many like, oh, you need to use this, this, and this. There's so many metas already of this is the Pokemon to use. This will shake it up by limiting what's available. No more
Yeah,
can you
break the
bring
cycle.
in every generation. This is just a nope. Here's what you got. Work with it, which
Yeah,
will
use
create
your
more
skills on the new stuff,
competition.
not the stuff that's been already proved to be
There's no more like,
OP.
oh well, you need to use this Pokemon from Generation 2, so therefore Generation 4 Pokemon just get ignored, etc. You know, as a example. Like now there's a reason to use new stuff because that's all you have. So they're trying to force the mix up. I don't know if first Switch game was a great idea, but Nintendo's always been about doing something different with each and every Pokemon game, not
Yes.
necessarily bringing that feature back in the next game. So it's, I don't know, as I said, it's very polarizing on, is it a great
I'm
idea or not? I
I understand.
personally
I like the
upset
idea.
a little bit. It's like, I kind of want, gotta catch them all. Can't do that if they're not all available. But in terms
Yeah.
of, it's not, now to catch them all isn't national. To catch them all is just the current decks in that game, which
Yeah.
makes it more possible, I guess. So while it is upsetting, I understand why, and I don't know, as I said, it's polarized. I'm very mixed opinion on it at the minute. It's like one hand, yeah, it's upsetting. Other hand, it's like, oh, that's cool. I always appreciated them doing Pokemon games where it was just a new Pokemon, but they just went, you can't have your old ones yet. Just enjoy the new lot we made for you.
Yeah, I understand it. When I was playing some of the older ones, older games on DS, and they were releasing the new generations, I was much more interested in obviously getting the new ones and using them in my party for battles and whatnot, gym fights and whatnot. So I personally, I quite like the idea of just having a concentrated sort of new stuff going forward, because I mean. I've caught Butterfree 101 times already. I'm not going to be sad if I don't have to do it again. So, um, I'm. So let's say with Pokemon Go, when the new generation comes out, everyone wants to be catching them. No one cares about the old stuff, the old generations for a little while. So, it's not hard to see and to understand why they're doing it, and just adding that much content to a game that potentially people aren't going to use or see is potentially just a waste and just makes more of a game for nothing. So
Exactly.
there's a few business reasons as well as I can see why
Yeah, it would
they're
cut
doing
down
it.
on, obviously, if there's less Pokemon to put in, they can just, just create a game much more quickly, therefore maximizing how many games they can put out.
Exactly.
But on the flip side, I believe if they were going to do a game, why would you not put all the models in to start with, one longer development cycle at the beginning, have every Pokemon available in this game, say, or 800, then you have the models ready for the next game. That would cut development down by a lot as well, by not doing it the first time.
True. I
No,
mean, yeah,
by doing it the first time. Apologies. That's the word up there.
there's so ways they could go about doing it. So
Or it could be they're doing it bit by bit. So 100 new ones, a couple of old ones. Then in the next game we get new old, we get different old ones, and then eventually it could be building up to a game with all of them in, having them not done all the development on one game at a time, or one game at the beginning. Sorry. So
that would
rather
make
than
sense. I
700
would.
in, they put 100 in the next game, the 100 in after that, and just keep adding to it until they've got them all ready. Then do one mass big game at the end, say of the
Yeah,
Switch's life cycle.
like
That
Pokemon
could be a reason
1000.
they're doing it. I believe it is also due to the fact they're adding in this Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing. Obviously, it seems to be a type of Mega Evolution, so they're adding in new, as we said, there's new appearances for some Pokemon, such as Alcremie. So it makes sense they're, cutting resources on one thing to mix up and add new stuff altogether.
Yeah, I think if they didn't have that sort of stuff and they just put like all the old Pokemon again in its place instead, it'd be a case of, well, there is nothing really much different in this as opposed to the others. So I think they've sacrificed the right stuff where they can to put in the new stuff where they should be.
Exactly. If I don't get my Blaziken, if I don't get my Charizard, I can play the other games for that. I'm playing a new
Exactly.
Pokemon game for the new Pokemon, ultimately.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just go back and, as you said, play the other ones
Otherwise,
and
I'll be
get
with
more on
my
there.
entire team from the last game, and I have just all that will be different is what I'm fighting. I won't be having new experiences with new moves or new powers, etc. Abilities, that's the word.
Exactly. So I'm interested to see more of them coming out going forward for the new Pokemon and definitely the game going forward. I am still leaning towards Pokemon Sword myself. I don't know why, other
You
than just the look. What? How dare
you
you?
just want Sif in Pokemon form. That
I
is all you
do
want.
want to. That is the reason that you've just made me
You
realize
just
it
want
now.
Darkseid.
I want him to be on my side for a change and not trying to kill me.
But
Last,
Zamazenta is so good. That's
he
all I'm
does
saying.
look
Shield
good,
base
but
for the win.
of the two, I do like the look of Zacian, however it's
Zacian.
pronounced, Zacian, whatever. I do like the look of it, and I think it's slightly more the Pokemon for me, so I'll be going for that one at least first. So, final bit of Pokemon news, and the
Ah,
final bit of news for the cast.
as we said, breaking news right this minute at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh my god,
Time stamping. Armored Mewtwo has now been unleashed in raids in Pokemon Go.
this is the first thing that Pokemon Go has done in a long time that's got me proper excited.
Something I mean, the Meltan was another first for Pokemon Go. A new Pokemon in a mobile game. Nintendo obviously had never done that before. It was a huge thing. Now we're getting Mewtwo in armored form.
And he
Another thing
looks
we've never seen
sweet.
before. Coming out in Go.
I'm so excited for this, and I'll actually have the chance to raid on the day that it's going to be released that makes a change. So I'm going to try and stockpile as many of these Mewtwo's as possible, and then use them as trading to get all the other good stuff that I have missed out on as well.
Personally, I would stockpile a few just to see if they can be put into the new games. I'd be very happy to be able to transport
Ooh,
over a armored Mewtwo. That's why I want them. I
I'm
love
Mewtwo.
Pokemon altogether. I mean, even with Sword and Shield having their changes, it's still Pokemon. I still want it. Go, I've never been the biggest fan of. Like, I still play it and enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not as big of a fan as Shepard here, who plays
Yeah,
it much more hardcore than I do,
I just have it on when I'm walking through town. That's
which is
the
a lot.
extent.
So.
Yeah, I do a lot of walking through town.
Whereas for me, I play it as and when. It's not on my. It's not at the front of my
You attend
game.
community days. Do you log in every
Exactly.
now and then?
But
Yeah,
this is one of the things. It's like I spoke to some another friend of ours and said, if you're raiding on a day, tell me. I want to come for this. This is new. This is exciting. It's
exactly.
armored. Yes, it's to promote the re-release of the first film, I believe, or the 3D remake of it.
Hmm.
Is but it's still just it's a Mewtwo with the armor. He looks awesome.
I've said the only time we've ever seen this is in the film, so it's really good to see him coming back into this capacity. A lot of people have got Mewtwo already, but obviously that armor Mewtwo is just
But with
that knows a
new
bit more.
with new stats and a move pool, all for it.
Yeah, give us something a bit different. Obviously, a bit more of a payoff for everyone who's gone out and done the raiding, and yeah, that is it for news on for this one. A bit shorter than actually no, not a bit short. It's actually worked out a bit longer with the cuts and things that we did in the last one. So
Oh no, really? Oops.
so but no, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week, hopefully with some more interesting news and stuff going forward. Hope to have played some more of these new games that are coming out. We can do a bit more of a deep dive on them.
Glory to mankind.